Good morning, stamping friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. My name is Lorri Heiling, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I have been busy packing for my incentive trip to Norway. Thanks to you and my team and customers, I'm so grateful to be going. Now, they like us to add that this is not a common thing. There's only, I don't know what percent, it's a very small percentage of people who earn this, but they like us to say that because a lot of people think as soon as they sign up, maybe they'll earn a trip that year. And you just have to put some time in, but it's well worth it. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to travel with Stampin' Up! All right, we have a project today, and we are going to use the Cheerful Daisies set. So I'm anxious to show this to you. And I also want to show you a little cheat sheet that I have that helps me get the daisies lined up when I'm gluing them together, because I found when I started working with this, that's the hard part for me, is trying to get those petals to line up. So I'm going to share a little tip with you. So let me turn my camera around and we will get started with today's project. Today we're going to play with the Cheerful Daisies stamp set. Isn't this adorable? One of my favorite things about this is that you don't have to color in with the blends if you don't want. You can use this two-step stamping where it will be colored in with just the more solid stamp. So let's get started today, and it's really cool that this has coordinating designer series paper that coordinates with it. All right, we are going to start with our card base, which is basic white thick. This is a 4 1/4 by 11-inch piece of cardstock, and we are going to score it in half on the long side at 5 1/2 inches. So just fold right here. Make sure you use your bone folder and crease it really nice. Then the next step is we are going to take our designer series paper, and I love the paper. It's so pretty. I showed the whole 12 by 12 pieces of paper on a previous video when I went through all of our designer series paper. And these little strips are cut to 4 1/4 by 1 1/4 inch. And we are just going to adhere both of these to the top and bottom of our cardstock. The back side of these designer series papers are more of a subtle and plain color. So if you like the busier, more colorful side, you can use the floral side. And then if you like the more muted and not as busy side, you can use the back side. They coordinate really nice. This is kind of a faux card front, because when we have it assembled, it's going to look like I took a full sheet of paper to make the card front, but I'm actually just using those little strips. So your designer series paper is going to go a lot farther that way. The next thing we're going to do is take a piece of crushed curry cardstock. This is 4 1/4 by 3 1/8 inches. And we're also going to take 2 little strips of basic white paper. These are 4 1/4 by, I think they're about 3/8 inch. And I'm going to get my silicone mat because I don't want to get glue underneath. Also, if you can see, I used an embossing folder. A lot of people have trouble finding this one. It's called an online exclusive, which does not show up in the catalog, but if you visit online, you can find it. And if you just put basic 3D embossing folders in there, you're going to see the set that comes with 3 in it. They're all really nice embossing folders, and the one we're going to use is kind of that, I call it kind of like the crosshatch. But there's also a polka dot and then a floral one that almost looks like poinsettias, but it's more of a floral print. But I have used all 3 and love them all. And it's $30, but again, you get 3 of them in there. All right, so I embossed that, and then we're just going to put a little, whoops, one of my die cut daisies. We're just going to put a little strip here. And we just want to show maybe like 1/8 of an inch. It's just going to give it a little border. Again, this is another kind of like a faux look. It looks like it's a whole panel, but we're just going to add these little strips to the top and bottom and make it look like we have a full layer of cardstock underneath there. Like that. We are going to trim just the edge of this a little bit. Sometimes they peek over a little bit when we layer them. Same with on the bottom. All right, now we are just going to put adhesive on the back and glue this to our card front like this. All right, now I have played around with this daisy set, and in my opinion, I think that the daisy set looks best on a plain background. I did one other card that had kind of color blocking and it had a little bit busier print, and then I put the flower on that, and I like that card, but I prefer ones where there's a plain background. So when I played with this, I just think it shows off the daisy by having a plain background. All right, now I'm going to teach a little trick with the daisies. So when you die cut the daisies, it's going to come out as one larger daisy, and I'm going to show you, because the hardest part is trying to figure out how to line these up, because we're going to make this 3 layers high, and each side definitely coordinates with a separate petal. And so I'm going to show you the way that I kind of played around with it to find an easier way. Now there's so many different ways to use this daisy, and I'm going to show you just a basic tone on tone way of using it. First, I'm going to snip off the leaves because I stamped some and cut them out, and we're going to use that rather than the white ones. Okay. Now, on this card, you know, it really doesn't matter which way you use it, but we're going to use this as our up. And you see all these little holes here? You do not have to punch these out for the style that we're making. You may want to punch them out for a different style, but for this one, we're going to be covering them up, so you don't need to do that. All right, so what I did beforehand, and I keep this in with my stamp set, is I made a pattern of how this goes so that I don't get so mixed up on how to arrange these, because it's, like I said, it's so hard to figure out which petal goes with which layer. So this is always my pattern, and I can set things on top of this. So we'll set this aside for now. You can see it goes like this, and we'll refer back to that little diagram. I'm leaving this on just so you can know which side is up, but I guess it's pretty obvious because this is just a pattern. All right, so the first piece, it looks like this, and this is going to go underneath it. And the first time I played with this, I don't know how long I sat twirling this thing around trying to get these to line up, and I could not figure it out. I kept playing with it. And so by having this little pattern, it's just easier because you can lay this on top of it and figure it out. So when you kind of look at this, you can see that these seem like they're a little bit longer, and these are a little bit shorter than these. So you know this is probably the bottom. So what I do is I go and I line this up, and look at how fast I can find it. I looked for that little V there, and I could see it's on the bottom. So it goes like that. So I know this is the right way. Now all I have to do is lay this on the rest of it. See how I'm putting it on that part? And look at how fast it lines up. Now I know exactly where that goes, like that. So I'm just going to take the bottom pattern piece out. I think I can remember how this went. So remove my pattern, and here's the layering. So I have to glue the back of this. So I'm just going to keep them both like they're going up. Flip this over and just add, I don't put dimensionals between these, but I guess I could, but I'm just going to do a flat layer and then just lay it on like that. All right, now as the size goes down, like the next size, it gets easier to do. So again, I look at this flower, I can see that the petals are longer here than these little things here. So I'm pretty sure I can line this up without my pattern, but if I needed it, I could get it. So you see how fast that went? Right, like that. But if you need the pattern, just put this on like that and set it on there. But this one was pretty easy. All right, so now let's add some glue to the back of that. Don't have to douse it. And then, whoops, let's see. There we go. Whoops, I'm getting mixed up here again. So I'm going to use the pattern. We'll go like this. And then we'll line up this daisy thing again. There it is. Okay. So now I'm going to take out the pattern, and there's the match. Okay. Now the last one, I don't even need that because it's pretty obvious how this one works. Let me grab the solid piece. I'm just going to go ahead and add the glue right away. My glue keeps stopping. This is a good commercial. I keep a sewing needle, or sewing, not a needle, but a little pin with a long end. And I don't know if it's the weather in Arizona. Normally I don't have to do it a whole lot, but I sometimes have to get it going that way. And then, like I said, this one's very obvious. I'm not going to trim these away from each other. I know in my class people started wanting to trim them away from each other, but it's best if you just keep them together. And it's okay if the top one doesn't line up because we're going to cover that up again, like I said. Now the next layer, we're going to do one more layer, and this is the more intricate one. And there's some nice lines in here that are embossed when you cut them out. So You can try it on your own by trying to line them up, but I tend to always go back to my pattern. I'm gonna put that on there, and I can see that this one with the little divot is a little bit different than the other, so I can see that one goes. Now, I don't want to lift it up because then I'll mix up again. I think I got it. So we just need to add more glue on the back. And then find that spot again like that. And that should be good. Now the next one, again, this will be the easier one. We look for the smaller petals down at the bottom, and just a few dots on the back will hold it. Like that. And the last one is the easiest one because it's so obvious, because there's only 4 petals on this one. There we go. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is you're going to put this on our card front, and this one I am going to use dimensionals, so we want a little bit of pop, but I'd be curious to try this with dimensionals in between this layer. It might require a second stamp because of the thickness, but it probably would be pretty as well. And now the way I'm going to arrange this on here is kind of at an angle like that, and just fill in all that space in there. Don't you think that looks nice? It really is set off with that background. The next thing we're going to do is grab our crushed curry ink. And a small piece of cardstock, and we are going to ink the centers in crushed curry. So this is the larger one, and then we'll make 2 smaller ones. And then there is a die cut for the larger one. So I already die cut that out, but I am going to have to cut out these smaller ones. There is a smaller die in with our set, but it doesn't seem to match exactly. So I think it's just faster and easier to fussy cut this. And let's pop this up. One in the center, one large one in the center. And there's really no right way to line it up. You can just put this wherever you want in the center because it doesn't really follow the shape other than it's larger than these 2 smaller ones. And then these, we're just going to put the mini dimensionals on the back of here. That. Now another thing we need to do is add some leaves, and like I said, I did stamp and cut these out so it wouldn't take so much time online. And so we're just going to kind of add these randomly wherever you want, and you can just put a little bit of liquid glue on the back. There's really no rhyme or reason, just kind of put it where you can maybe fill in some of the space there. And I like to work in odd numbers, so I think I'll use about 5 of these. What are some of your favorite things in the catalog this time? I've been playing probably mostly with the Crafting With You because that was the stamp set and dies that were used in my online card club. So I have lots of projects with that one. I also like the Daisy one. I got the Zany Zoo right away. I kind of space out my orders. I don't get them all in the first, actually in the first run. I think I'm going to just quit with 5 here. I could keep adding them, but I don't want it to get too busy here in the background. All right, the last thing we need to do is add a sentiment. And because I'm in need of birthday cards, I'm going to choose that. And this is the die. I already did this before I started taping, and this is the die that this is the die that comes with the set, and I'm using Wishing You the Brightest Birthday, and we are just going to put dimensionals on the back of that one as well. And I used Early Espresso for this because that's one of the coordinating colors, and that's kind of the finishing piece on here, and we're just going to kind of offset it a little bit like that. All right, there you have it. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this little daisy project. I also want to remind you that if you find any products that you would love to have, please order from my Stampin' Up! Website. And don't forget to use the host code because I reward you. If your order is over $50, you will not only receive a thank you card from me, but also Stampin' Up! Product bonus as my way of saying thank you so much for your order and supporting my business. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I will see you next week. I will have a taped version because I will be in Norway on the Stampin' Up! Incentive trip that I was blessed to earn. Thank you so much for helping me earn my way there. That's truly one of my goals that I have every year and why I keep doing this, because I love to travel and I love that Stampin' Up! Rewards us in this way. Now, I do have to add that this is not a common thing that all demonstrators earn. They really want us to say that because a lot of people think, I want to make a couple cards and go on this trip as well. You have to put some hard work in, but it's definitely worth it. All right, well, thank you again, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.